Guten Morgen, guten Abend, guten Nachmittag, guten Nacht, beautiful people. Welcome to Julie Onyando's Take Again. If you're new here, umekaribishwa sana. For the return subscribers, I really have to apologize for being MIA for the last like 2 weeks. I was dealing with some stuff that I had to clear before I could be in a position to sit in front of the camera again and be myself. Like I always say, mental health is just as important as physical health. So if you have something bothering you, some stress, some uncleared stuff, just the same way you treat yourself if you, I don't know, broke your leg, that's the same way you should treat yourself if you have a psychological thing or something that's bothering you mentally. So nothing to be ashamed about that. That is life. And now that that is cleared and out of the way, aluta continua. Well, I know that's not the reason you clicked on this video, so let's get to today's topic. One of my subscribers, Nina, if I remember their name correctly, asked me what are the advantages and disadvantages of doing an Ausbildung in the Pflege, versus doing a Studium in the Pflege. Now, I have to say, doing an Ausbildung and doing a Studium, egal in which job you want to, I would say it is the same. The advantages and disadvantages are the same. So this video is not going to be just about nursing, but it's going to be general about the advantages and disadvantages, pros and cons of doing a Studium versus doing an Ausbildung. So let's get to it.
We touch, we break, make it seem like we feel the same. We love what we hate. We lie, but we know we can't wonder what doesn't.
Oh, number one, that would be the period, or rather the duration for doing this Studium or doing the Ausbildung. That is kind of similar because Ausbildungs, most of them take 3 years. I think the maximum take 3 years, 2 to 3 years, and doing a Studium or doing a bachelor's degree takes 3 years to 3 years and a half doing a Studium. Now the thing with doing an Ausbildung, there are some Ausbildungs where if you're not a good, you could reduce the duration of how long you do the Ausbildung. Maybe you could do it instead of 3 years, you could do it in 2 years or in 2.5 years, depending on whether you're not a good or the bad. If you're not a good, there is the possibility of you reducing the duration of doing your Ausbildung. On the other hand, when you're doing a bachelor's degree, you cannot reduce the duration of doing your bachelor's degree, but you can prolong it. You can say, well, I'm not in a position to finish my bachelor's degree in 3 years, so maybe I'll skip this semester and jump on it on the other semester. You can prolong the duration in which you do your Studium, but you can't prolong the duration in which you do your Ausbildung. You get what I'm trying to say? I hope so. Yeah. The second difference would be Vergütung. When you're doing an Ausbildung, normally, actually, let me not say normally, I think there's some Ausbildungs where you get a salary, but there's some Ausbildungs you don't get a salary. Zum Beispiel, in nursing, you will get a salary when you're doing the Ausbildung. This salary ranges from 800 to 1,200 depending on your Arbeitsgeber, depending on which year of the Ausbildung you are. The first year, second or the third year, it increases according to which year you are. What is it also abhängig von? It also depends on the kind of Ausbildung you're doing. For example, I did nursing, and when I was doing nursing, I believe the first year I was earning around 880 euros, and by the time I was in the third year I was earning 1,200 euros. So depending on which Ausbildung you're doing, depending on your Arbeitsgeber, depending on which year you are in the Ausbildung, you do get a salary for it. For me, that is a plus. On the other hand, if you're studying, you don't get a salary. Instead, you're supposed to be paying for your studium. So, but I have to say, with studium, there are also other ways to finance your studium. There is BAF, there is, it called BAF? BAföG. It's called BAföG. I'll write it up here. There is Stipendium. You can be able to do your bachelor's degree through your Arbeitsgeber, but that is a topic on its own, which if I get into it, it will be another video on its own. But there are ways you can finance your studium. So the difference is, with Ausbildung you will be paid a salary, but with studium you're supposed to pay for the studies. Number 3, when you're doing an Ausbildung, it is so that most of the time when you're doing the Ausbildung, Ausbildung is what is it called? The words have disappeared. When you're doing Ausbildung, you have theory and you have practice. The practical part of it, you do it in an institution, you do it in a nursing home, you do it in a hospital, you do it in a firma, a company. And most of the time when you're done with your Ausbildung, this company, this hospital, this organization through which you are doing the practical part of it, most of the time they'll take you directly. So when you're finished with your Ausbildung, most of the time you're already assured, you already have your job. Actually, in my case, I signed my my Vertrag even before I did my exams. I already knew I have a place. I didn't have to go tarmac looking for a job. So that is a plus when you're doing an Ausbildung. On the other hand, when you're doing a studium, you will do your studium, and after you're done with your studium, you have to start tarmacking and looking for a job. So if your circumstances or your financial status can allow, or your lifestyle can allow, you can study, then after that start tarmacking. But for me, Ausbildung was a plus because I had my salary during the Ausbildung, and after the Ausbildung, I didn't have to go looking for a job. The job was directly there, and I didn't have to do a lot of tarmacking. So if you ask me, for me that is a plus for doing an Ausbildung. Number 4. Number 4 is kind of related to number 3. Like I said, when you're doing an Ausbildung, you'll get your job directly. When you're doing a bachelor's degree, after finishing your bachelor's degree, you start tarmacking, looking for a job. Now, number 4 is a plus for studying. When you study, when you get a job, the possibility of you getting directly to a Führungsposition, what is managerial position, is high. You can directly go to a managerial position. On the other hand, when you're doing an Ausbildung, in order for you to get to a managerial position, you need to do a Weiterbildung in order to get to the managerial position. And depending on which position you're aiming at, there is one Weiterbildung after the other, after the other, after the other, before you can get to this managerial position. Whereas when you do a studium, you can directly go to the managerial position without having to go through these Weiterbildungs and these other steps in order to get to the managerial position. So that is a plus for somebody who is studying the bachelor's degree versus somebody who will first of all say, I'm doing an Ausbildung. Whereby I also have to say, just because you did an Ausbildung doesn't close you from doing a bachelor's degree. But just because you did your Ausbildung, it doesn't mean you cannot do your studium. You can do the Ausbildung, and when you're done, you do your studium, so that you already have your Ausbildung, you already have your papers here, you're already working, and then you can do your studium. And there are ways of doing your studium while you're still working. That can be a video on that is another long story that If I get into this video, it will be long, but there's possibility of you doing a Ausbildung. When you finish the Ausbildung, you do the Studium. There's also the possibility of you doing what is called dual Studium, whereby you have practice and you have the theory. It's a whole other topic that if you're interested in, let me know. I'll make a video about it. Number 5, I guess you're in number 5, yeah. In number 5, that should be for me the experience or the confidence, yeah. When you do an Ausbildung, it is so that you have, let me say, you have now I can't even completely remember how it was, but it's principally something like 1 month you're in your practice and the 1 month you're in the school, something close to that. Of course, not exactly that way, but something close to that. So by the time you're done with the Ausbildung, you already know how your job is like. You gain a lot of experience, not just the theory that you get in school, but also the practical part of it, because at work you get to see what you're learning. You get to see it practically. So by the time you're finished with your Ausbildung, you're confident enough to do your job because you've basically been doing it for 3 years. So you are examinierte, and you have the experience you need to start your job. Of course, you won't be as 100% good as somebody who's done that for 20 years. That is another kind of experience, but what I'm saying is at least you have the confidence to this job because you've been doing it for the past 3 years. And maybe if you did FSJ or you did ungelernte Helferin, like I did, I don't know if it's called ungelernte Helferin, but you know the vibe, what I'm trying to say. By the time you're done with the Ausbildung, you have the more confidence to do your work because you've basically been doing it all along. On the other hand, if you're doing a Studium is just a lot of theory. So you have the theory part of it, but you don't have the practical part of it. So I would say if you directly do the Studium and not do a dual Studium or not do your Ausbildung first, you have a lot of theory, but you do lack the experience, the practical part of it, which for me is kind of a minus for studying directly versus doing an Ausbildung first or versus doing a dual Studium, which I think maybe I should do another video about. Yeah, that should be a long story. Are we number 6? At number 6, I guess we're at number 6, yeah? Number 6, I'll just say number 6, it's irrelevant which number it is. It's about the, how do I put this now? It's not a con or a pro, that is about the individual person, the individual, what kind of person you are. If you're this kind of person who is organized, the kind of person who can work without supervision, the kind of person who, I don't know how to put it, it's studying, or rather doing a bachelor's degree would be something for you, because in bachelor's degree you have to do a lot of research on your own, you have to do a lot of work on your own, you have to search for a lot of material on your own when you're doing a bachelor's degree, versus when you're doing an Ausbildung, most of the time almost everything is just handed to you. Actually, honestly, everything is handed to you. It's just for you to take it in. It's, don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to say that an Ausbildung is so easy, or now I don't even know how to put this so that it sounds right, but I hope you get the vibe what I'm trying to say. If you're doing an Ausbildung, there is less research involved in that compared to doing a bachelor's degree, or compared to studying. Doing an Ausbildung, the lecturers will do most of the research, they'll do most of the stuff will be done and handed to you. Of course, there are a few things in and here where you have to do your own research, like if you're doing projects, if you're doing group work and stuff like that, where you have to do that. But when you're doing a bachelor's degree or you're doing a Studium, most of the things you'll have to go search on your own. Yeah. Last but not least, it's not a pro or a con. It's not a pro or a con. It's just the way it is. Yeah. When you're doing an Ausbildung you can do from I think from Realschule, yeah, from Mittlere Reife you can be able to do an Ausbildung. directly. But if you want to study and you have a military rifle Dutch, I'll write that here, and you have that. You can do an Ausbildung. On the other hand, if you want to study and you have mittlere Reife, in Dutch you have to pronounce every single sound so that the word comes right. Mittlere Reife, yeah, is a process. To do a bachelor's degree, you need Hochschule or Fachabitur or Abitur in order to study directly. If you have this military rifle, you have to do what is it called, Studentkollegen, before you are able to do a bachelor's degree. I'm not saying you can't do a bachelor's degree if you have a military rifle, but it's a process, which is a video on its own. If anyone is interested, I can do that. You can do your studium without an Abitur in Deutschland. So that was it for today. I hope I answered the question. This is, like I said, it's not just about nursing, it's actually general about doing an Ausbildung versus doing a studium, which is the same. When I'm still at it, there is somebody who asked me, sorry I don't have the name at the tip of my hand, but I did see the question where somebody asked me, how do I do a master's in Deutschland? If you have your bachelor's degree, you can register for a master program. So it's as simple as that. You can do your bachelor's degree. As long as you have your bachelor's degree, you're eligible to do a master's program. Now, that would be it for today. I hope I answered your questions, and until next time, I hope you have a beautiful day. I hope you have a blessed day. If you're anywhere in Germany, yeah, the weather doesn't look so promising today, but we'll make the best out of it. Yeah, take care of yourself, and I'll see you in my next